Hey everyone, and welcome to the Sandman Book Tag. I am completely and utterly obsessed with the Sandman right now. You can probably tell by basically a lot of videos I've done recently where I've mentioned the comics, the audiobook, the TV show, and just about everything else to do with it. I'm literally wearing my Sandman t-shirt right now because I'm obsessed. So I think it's about time I did the Sandman Book Tag. So let's get into these questions. Question number 1 is Destiny. What book or character do you think reflects your own life? I'm going to say Xandri in the Xandri series, specifically because Xandri is autistic and the way she views the world and the way how she copes with things and things like this was very, very similar to the way I do in a lot of ways, because I myself am also autistic. I could also mention obviously Elle McNichol's books, but I'm just going to go for this one instead because I haven't mentioned this series in a very, very long time, and it's about time I did. Question number 2 is Death, which is what book has presented death or dying in a way that was unexpected to you? I'm not going to go down the traditional route here of talking about the way death and dying and things like this is presented differently. I'm going to go with the way the character of death has been sort of presented. And I'm going to say the Hogfather specifically, but the Discworld in general. This is done by Terry Pratchett, who did Good Omens with Neil Gaiman, who wrote The Sandman, and death in these books is so interesting. He's not like your classic death character who's like completely emotionless and things like this. He's got a fully formed character. He is very, very funny. He loves humanity. He just doesn't quite understand them, but he tries to. He loves curry, he loves cats, and he loves his granddaughter and things like this. And in this book specifically, he's taking over the role of Discworld Santa because their Santa, the Hogfather, has gone missing. And if the Hogfather goes missing, no one will deliver the presents. And if there is no presents to deliver, the children won't believe, and therefore the sun will not rise in the morning. So Death is going around in this one pretending to be Santa and trying to learn how to be basically Santa and things like this. It's really funny, really endearing. It made me fall in love with this character so much, and I think it's just an interesting way to sort of view Death as not as this evil character or anything, but as a really fun character who does have badass moments. Question number 3 is Dream, which is what book is like a dream or a nightmare? Vicious is a dream. Dream, this is a dream book for me, and I didn't realise it'd be a dream book for me until I read it, which sounds weird, but I did not realise that I really needed a book where two superpowered, morally grey characters were trying to murder each other. And that's exactly what this book is. It's a dual timeline kind of thing where you're sort of seeing the past and the present as well and things like this, and usually I can find that a little bit confusing, but this book worked so well for me along with its sequel Vengeful. But, I mean, I just needed a book like this where morally grey characters are trying to kill each other. It really made me sort of cement the idea that I love morally grey characters in books, and it just worked so well for me, and it cemented V. Schwab as one of my favourite authors of all time. I just loved this. Question number 4 is The Prodigal, which is what is your favourite book about a prodigal character? And I'm going to say Aru Shah, because for me, she's such a prodigal character in the sense that she does come from this normal world. She goes on 5 huge adventures and then comes home again, and it's sort of, that's just the definition of prodigal. But this is definitely one of my favourite ones where the characters sort of go on these big adventures to come home again afterwards. I love this book. I do genuinely love this series. It's one of my absolute favourites. Question number 5 is Desire. What is the sexiest book you've ever read? I don't read sexy books. I'm asexual, so I don't read those types of books. I've probably stumbled across some in some fan fiction on occasionally, but I don't generally read sexy books. But if I had to pick one, I'd say the entire Broken Earth trilogy, because I mean there are some sex scenes in here, but they aren't meant to be sexy or anything. They're just part of the book, I guess. I don't know if I just didn't pick up on that. I don't know, but this is my answer. I've got nothing. Literally, I have nothing. Question number 6 is Despair, which is what is the most depressing book you've ever read? Record of a Spaceborne Few. I don't think this book was meant to be as depressing as it was, but for me personally, it really painfully depressed me, because we are talking about, this literally starts on a mass death event where an entire ship basically blows up, and then multiple other people die. You're dealing with death, dying, the fact that most of these people are never going to leave this ship and do anything else. They're basically stuck in this same place forever, and they're reasonably happy with this, and it just it just did not work for me, because I understand that this was probably meant to be uplifting in some way or other, but for me it just made me more depressed, which just was not what I was hoping for from a Becky Chambers book, because they're usually quite sort of hope punk, I think it's called, and this one was more like depressed punk in my mind. It just depressed me and nearly put me in a reading slump, so I will never be rereading this book because it nearly made me more depressed than I already am. So it wasn't for me, essentially. Long story short, it wasn't for me. It depressed me more than it should have done, but never mind. And then finally, question number 7 is Delirium, which is what is the most absurd or nonsensical book you've ever read? That has to be Alice in Wonderland, and I hated every minute of it. For context, I had to read this as a part of my A-levels, which is the sort of secondary qualifications in the UK after GCSEs. They're more optional, but I decided to do English language or English lit. I did one of them, essentially, and we had to study this, and I hated every minute of it because I have a very, very logical brain. I am very, very logical in a lot of ways, and this was not logical at all. There was no logic or anything. There was barely a plot line, and I just was annoyed by Alice the whole way through because like every turn she just started crying or did something stupid. I hated it. And I don't know if it's just because I was studying it at A-level and I was like 17 and I had no time for this kind of thing whatsoever, or what. And that's why I'm going to leave that rant about Alice in Wonderland, because no one needs to hear that. But that is the end of the Sandman book tag, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me your favourite member of the end list, I'd love to know. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me a sand related emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which actually has a full reading guide to the Sandman if you want to check that out. I'll also leave a link as well down below to my Etsy and Redbubble store, which sells bookish merch if you're interested in that, especially for presents for all of your bookish loved ones this Christmas. Or if you just want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!